All right. Welcome everybody to the Tuesday All Hands. We are going to do something a little bit different today. And those of you who, well, I'm speaking to the folks that are not on. So some of you game the system and come on about 15 minutes late, so you miss all my great announcements, just so you can start with the guest. Today we're going to start right off the bat with the guest because we have such a great guest. Last week I said the person that was on was my mentor. So today we have Linda McKissack. I would say she is my real estate idol. If there's anybody whose real estate business I could emulate, it would be Linda. Just a couple quick things about Linda, and then I'll turn it over to Linda. She is she's been the number one agent in all of Keller Williams at one point. Most of you know her as the top profit share earner in all of KW. I think she earns over $1 million a year just from profit share. She has by far my favorite podcast, Everything Life and Real Estate. So if you don't listen to that, you should. An episode just came out today about, what's going on in real estate today with all the changes. That's super helpful. She is a regional owner. She is a great real estate investor, world class. She's written books on it, best-selling books on real estate investing. And then there's a minor thing about a high net worth. I think she was something like 10 million. Oh no, 100 million. So this is our first Deca millionaire, if that's the right way to say it, that we've had on our Zoom. And I'm super excited. And on top of all of that, I know Linda a little bit, and she is just not what you expect with somebody with that kind of net worth. She's just a, learning-based, humble servant leader that's about as down to earth as anybody you'll ever meet. So Linda, thank you for joining us today. We're so excited to learn from you today.
My pleasure. I'm so happy to be here. And my goal when I get through with this is for you guys to look up and say, good Lord, if she can do this, I know I can, right? And, as my title says, I want to share with you our road to 100 million net worth. And truly what I love doing is having ordinary people like myself wake up and discover that they were made for more and that they really have an opportunity to have an extraordinary life. And so I'm going to today just kind of share with you the journey that we took. And then what I want you to do is pick and choose what's the next likely door that could open for you, because that's all you have to do is find out what's the next door and the next step you need to take. Don't look at the whole thing and go, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed, because that's not how we did it. We took one door that was trying to open. We walked through it. We had the courage and we walked through it. And that's all you have to do also. So I'm going to kind of go through and set the stage a little bit. But first, I want to share with you, when we started in real estate, you're going to get the slides if you want them, because I was telling Al, I actually taught this whole thing to a whole day of the top 100 in the Northwest region. So I'm only picking and choosing what I can get through in an hour, but I'm going to give you the slides. If you'll just scan this code, then you'll be able to get the slides so that you don't focus so much on everything and you just listen to what I'm saying. My goal here is for you to understand, I think everyone's goal should be to work because they want to, not because they have to. And our wake-up call came on this when I was probably in my early to mid-20s. My husband was in the restaurant and nightclub business. I didn't even know what the word economy meant, much less is it a good one or a bad one. But all of a sudden, Texas had the worst crash it's ever had in the economy. And by the way, I call those graduallys and suddenlies. And if you've never experienced one, get ready. One will always come. Maybe what we're experiencing in the real estate market right now could be considered one of those. But woke up, one day we were fine. The next day, my husband informed me that we had to sell a nightclub that we just opened in Dallas, trying to go big, like a Dave & Buster's, a mini Dave & Buster's. We had to sell it for $600,000 less than we owed against it. So that meant someone else got the business and we got $600,000 in debt. And I always say the worst thing that happens to you in life can be the best thing that ever happens to you if you, number one, give it long enough. And number two, search for the answers. What are the lessons that I need to get from this? Instead of getting a kick in the gut and just laying down somewhere, get a kick in the gut and go, okay, what does this need to teach me? What do I need to know so that, one, this doesn't happen again, or maybe it's a blessing because I'm going to learn something that I wasn't going to pay attention to without this kick in the gut. And so, because I had no clue. I'd never made more than minimum wage. The most money I'd ever made was waitressing for my husband's nightclubs. I'd make, $100, $200 at night in tips, but I didn't have any skill that would make me anything more than minimum wage. So I'm at a loss on how I'm going to help my husband out of this. And it was his suggestion that a mentor told him a long time ago, if you want to make a lot of money, real estate's the way to do it. Now, I've since grown up and realized that Jimmy misunderstood the man. The man said, buy some real estate, build some real estate, or develop some real estate. He did not say, find a wife, get her to sell real estate. You guys will be rich forever. That wasn't quite the simple message he said. But I'm so thankful because, to be honest with you, real estate sales is the best cash flow opportunity any of us can probably get into. So for that reason, we're all blessed to be in this industry. Now, what we do after that is the big determiner of whether we're going to be working because we want to, or we have to work because we have to, right? And that's two different things. So what I want you to do is think about that. And every day that you can't say, I'm working because I want to, I'm working still because I have to, you mean you got to go back out there and work on building wealth and stuff like that. So I want you to, this was in our hold book, but I always love to revisit it because it reminds me how important building wealth and passive income is, even more so than probably our own sales business. And yet we devote so little time to it. But there was a study that we did, and we, for the hold book, we found, and it said, starting at the time they enter the workforce for 40 years until approximately the time they retire, here's what you'll find in this study. 1 person will be wealthy, 4 will be financially secure, 5 will be working not because they want to, but because they have to. And I always say these are the people that are the older people you see at the grocery stores now, when it used to be your teenagers that were bagging your groceries or doing whatever. Now it's different age group of people, and a lot of those may be because they have to supplement their income. 36 will be dead, and then 54 will be broke and dependent on family, friends, and relatives. And I don't know about you, but some of those 54 are going to be my friends and family and relatives. And so I want to be in a position that I can actually step into a gap, because sometimes the people we love the most didn't have the opportunities that we have, or they didn't plan accordingly. And at the end of their life, they're in terrible situations. And it feels fantastic to be able to step into that for somebody who took care of you at one point in your life. So here's the definition of wealthy. And this is what I would post up in front of me. It says, when your passive income exceeds the income necessary to fund your lifestyle and provides you freedom of your time and money so that you can do what it is that's important to you. And those are the key words. You've got to have that passive income exceeding the income necessary for you to live the lifestyle that you want. And by the way, if you can come up with a number right now, and if you don't like the life you have now, go ahead and put the number together for the life you really want, right? So here's what I want you to think about it. And we do this backwards all the time. But what I want you to think about, what we really should do is sit down and look at what we want our life to look like. What does your life need to look like? Now, based on that, how big does your real estate business need to be? And then based on that, because businesses are people making us money, how big does our team need to be to support that kind of business, to support that kind of lifestyle? And part of that lifestyle has to be extra money to put into assets that are making us money. And I want to share with you, one of the greatest things we did when we were in this situation was we started looking for books. I'm the kind of person that if I don't know the answer, I'm going to find someone who does know the answer. And I would encourage you to do the same thing. Any gap you have in your life, any problem, any situation, you can find someone who's had the similar situation or did something similar and as your life is, and they can help you get out of whatever you need to get out of. But you've got to learn to start looking for the books, the people, the classes, all of those things as fast as possible. And when Jim and I went through this, we had no one that we knew that had gone through something like that. But we found a book called Cash Flow Quadrant. And in that book, what he said was, if you're an employee or a self-employed person, which was on the left side of the quadrant, you need to move as much as possible of your income to come from the right side of the quadrant And that is where there's businesses making you money or assets making you money. And when we read that book, it was a game changer because we were right in the dead square of the S quadrant, which is self-employed, which is what we all are as realtors. And $0 at that time came from B, businesses or assets. So we knew real clear, we got $0. How many dollars can we get moved over to that right side? And that really became the game that we began to play. So here's kind of what we put together over the years. And please don't look at this and go, oh my God, that's just too much. I can't do it. Remember, it's what's the best door right in front of you right now that's trying to open. What's the next step you need to take? That's all it is. And what happens is, I did an interview in the book, 10X is easier than 2X. And one of the things that I tell people is 2X is way harder, right? And we're thinking right now, you're thinking from 2X. What I want you to do is understand if you can get to 10X, it's much, much easier, right? So don't focus on, the 2X that you're in right now, which is so hard. When you take each step and you build, you're slowly getting into 10X, and that's when your life and everything is going to get easier. But here's kind of the makeup of what we have created of passive income streams. Remember, we had zero back in the beginning, started selling real estate, went to seminars, learned as much as I could, became in the top 0.25% of sales in the whole country, and then begin to take some of that money and buy single family rentals. So what the makeup is right now, single family rentals, Keller Williams businesses, which are market centers, which I never, ever wanted to own a market center, ever, which led me to an opportunity later to have a couple of regions, Keller Williams profit share, honestly, and I'll share just a little bit because honestly, the formula I used to build my Keller Williams profit share is the same formula that I use to build my real estate business to over 200 transactions a year. So if there are any of you on the call today and you're a guest and you don't have the opportunity for Keller Williams profit share, that's okay. You're going to take what I'm going to teach you on this section and you're going to apply it to your own real estate business because it's the same formula. And so then, what we did next was I had to look at it. Management company. We had a small management company that manages our our short-term rentals, commercial real estate. We own 7 buildings. Almost every one of those buildings has one of our businesses in it. Vacation rentals. We have 34 vacation rentals, personal homes and assets. And there's a strategy behind the personal homes and assets that we buy. That we usually try to get homes that are in unique areas, like either on the ocean, on the mountain, or on a lake, things that they don't make a whole lot more of, if that makes sense. Intellectual property. I truly believe that when you are gifted with challenges and successes in life, that you're given those so that eventually someday you can go back and get other people and bring them along on the same journey that you've been on. And that's called intellectual property. I know for me, I'm so thankful when people are willing to share their intellectual property with me, and I can take a class and watch it at night instead of watching TV, or I can go to the beach house and spend a week crashing on an online course to teach me something else. And so that's what intellectual property is. I don't think we're given these lessons and these successes to just hoard them to ourselves. I think we're given to help other people accomplish what you have accomplished. Okay, so here's kind of the action steps we took to get out of that $600,000 in debt. Number one, we had to get uncomfortable with the pain and the situation because until you're uncomfortable, a lot of times we won't make a difference. John Maxwell says, change is great. You go first. That's how much we don't like to change. So sometimes that pain really helps us do something that we really should have already been doing, right? But we just didn't. We downsized our living expenses, not by choice, but because we had to, vehicles, housing, things like that. We read books to learn how to never be in this situation again. I said, when the pain's great enough, you'll figure out how to not get back there. We read Cash Flow Quadrant. And again, that taught us the difference between cash flow and wealth and how they're not the same thing. And some of you may have known this earlier than me. I didn't realize that. I thought if you had a lot of money flowing in, you were rich and you were wealthy and all the things, and they're not the same thing. So the ways to build wealth are either real estate, stocks, or businesses. And that's the premise of pretty much what he says in the book. So our first goal on single family homes was to Jim is a little bit older than me. He's about 9 years older than me. So we took his age and said, what do we want to have coming in by the time you're 60? And we said just a real simple plan. Let's have 250 a year approximately coming in passively. And then we work that backwards. How much would the houses have to cash flow, and how many houses would we have to buy when they're free and clear for that money to be coming in passively? And so this is how we eventually wrote the book, Hold: How to Find, Buy, and Rent Houses to Build Wealth. We truly are hold people first, and we are sell people last. We have sold things. We have flipped things, those kind of things, but it has to be a real special situation for us to sell or to flip. We pretty much hold everything. So, okay, so here's kind of our plan on the single family rentals. We analyzed our situation of no cash and no ability to borrow, which was a terrible place to be. We created an end result that we wanted to achieve. We determined what was our freedom number that we were after. And at the time it was 250,000, right? You just need a number to get started. Don't worry about the number. You'll probably go way past it. But until you have a number, you won't work a plan to get to it. So just pick a number. We picked 250,000 out of the air, created our plan to get out of debt, and found a property. But guess what? When I went home to tell Jim about it, the first thing he said to me is, Linda, this is great, but we have no money and we have no borrowing power. So when I went to sleep that night, probably some of you do the same thing. I went to sleep and I woke up with a solution. And the solution was one of my builders, Lou Kraft. And I went to Lou and said, Lou, this is a great deal. We can make $15,000 in this house. I can't afford to buy it. I can throw my commission in, but if you can do the work for cheap and we can get it flipped, I'll split the money with you. And so that's how we got into buying our very first single family home while we were still $600,000 in debt. We went on to buy 2 more properties with Lou. We flipped on that one, and then we bought another one, actually 2, and we've now split our partnership up because we were never intending to do this long term. Let him pick which property he wanted, and then we took the other one. And that property today makes us about $4,000 a month, more than my husband makes in his Social Security, and it's free and clear, and we still own it today. So that property was the kind of the beginning of us understanding that we needed to hold properties. So we used the market of the moment to buy foreclosures in 2008, 2010. And the goal of any time you go through a market crash is to figure out how to be in a different position in the next crash. Because in the next market of the moment, you want to be in a position to take advantage. And that's where we were in 2008 to 2010. We were buying houses on the foreclosure steps. We bought houses with Brad, who was now running my McKissack group. So the very first thing, one of the first things I did was I found, with coaching with Gary, a replacement for me in my real estate sales team that was doing about 200 transactions a year and listing about 200 houses a year. And I brought Brad into that business, and he ran it for the next 20 years for me. And then I'll tell you what happened later. But we bought some properties with him because he had done nothing to build wealth. And so when you have key talented people, you want to figure out a way that you keep those people connected to you. And this was a way for him to fill a gap that he had, and us to create some glue with him on staying with us. Because a lot of you, if you've ever tried to build a team, you have a great person, but then they leave. So they leave only because there's more opportunity. If they don't feel like there's more opportunity, they don't leave, right? And then we also bought properties with a few other of our partners that my husband had been in the restaurant business with before, and different things like that. Okay. So here, real quick, here's our formula for buying houses. And again, remember, I've got a QR code in the beginning and I'm gonna give you one at the end. Don't worry about writing all this down. But here's what our criteria has to be. We have to buy a property at least 10% below or more below market, put at least 20% or more down. We want a 70 to 30 loan to value ratio, so it keeps us safe. Cash flow minimum of $150 to $200 a month. We did 15-year mortgages. If you're young and you're on this call, you could do 30. But we needed shorter because my husband was almost 40 when we started. Buy newer if possible, buy 3 to 4 bedroom brick or stucco, and buy in stable or appreciating neighborhoods if at all possible. So that was kind of our formula. So the profit share, we next decided, took me forever. People kept trying to talk to me about profit share. I said, don't talk to me about that. I'm not interested. I'm going to buy houses. I'm going to be rich. I'm going to sell 1,000,000 houses and I'm going to be rich. But then one day I realized, oh my God, I don't want to do this for the next 40 years. Had a really bad day in real estate. And it made me realize, why would I not at least look at this opportunity and use it as an opportunity to build wealth faster? So the way I did that, I was in a mastermind group of the top agents in KW at the time. And Gary Keller was challenging everybody in the room to start creating multiple streams of income. And so he wanted each of us to leave that room and come back in the next quarter and do a pro forma on a different standalone business besides your real estate practice. So I'm in the last seat of the day. Good for me, bad for me. And it gets all the way around the table, and mortgage is gone, title is gone, home warranties, everything's gone, insurance, everything. I'm just sitting there going, what in the world am I going to pick? There's nothing left. And so Gary was sitting in front of me, and Dave Jinks was beside me, and they both said, why don't you pick doing a pro forma on what would it look like if people treated our profit share program like a business? I'm like, that sounds good. Anything sounds good 4 months from now. I very quickly realized I have no idea where the money comes from. I have no idea how you get it. How can you gauge what you're going to get? I knew nothing, right? But anything sounds good 4 months out. So I did a pro forma, realized the opportunity was huge. And once you know something, you can't pretend you don't. And so now I'm convicted. I've got to figure this out. If I'm going to be a leader in this company, and this is a huge opportunity that my tax attorney and my CPA are just blown away with, I need to get busy and do this. So I focused on relationships, which is how I built my real estate business. And then all I had to do really was help people self-discover who KW was and if it was right for them. And then I treated it as a business. I didn't treat it as a side hobby. I treated it as a business. And the reason I talk about this one is it's one of the biggest income earners that we've had. And again, if you're not with KW and you're on this call, you could use the formula I'm going to teach you in a minute and build your real estate practice with this also. It's also the same formula I use to build wealth through single family homes and short-term rentals. But our lifetime earning has been over $16 million. I have no idea to figure out what the net worth on something like that is. I don't know. Our tax attorney can't, and the CPA can't either. So here's the formula. And again, what you want to do in anything you're trying to build, whether it's your real estate business, your profit share, your investment portfolio, first of all, who do you want to be a hero to? That's the relationships you need to make a list of. If it's your real estate business, is it listings, in what price range, what area, that kind of stuff? If it's recruits, who do you love, helping in the real estate industry? Pick the people you want to be a hero to. That's the first step. Second is you got to ask, what's my validity for someone to even trust me or do business with me or open the door to a relationship? Because our most valuable asset is our time. And if people don't feel like that you're valid, they won't give you their time. If they don't feel like the activity you're asking them to do is worth their time, they won't do it. So validity is key. I always say everybody has it. Nobody thinks they do, but everybody has it. You just got to learn what it is and how to use it. And the next one is, what is their value gap at this time? Everybody has value gaps, meaning it's the thing you lay awake at night and think, God, I wish someone would help me with this. Wow, I wish somebody knew the answer to this. Those are called what you value or what your value gap is. So when I get in relationship with people, the very first thing I want to do is get to know them and understand what is their value gap. Oprah said in all her years of doing interviews, the number one human desire people have is to be understood, not interpreted. The way you understand people is ask them their thoughts and their ideas and get to understand them better, right? And then the next thing I need to do is be realistic about how long of a time it will take. When you're building wealth, it's not a get rich quick thing. So are you dedicating the time you need to in the day, the time you need to in the week, and how long of a time will this probably take, right? And if you're realistic about those things, you won't quit when you're on the 5-yard line. You'll go the distance, right? And so that's kind of the key formula, and that's a real quick snapshot of that formula. So here's the biggest objections that most people have when they're either building their profit share or their investment portfolio or trying to go out and get more listings. They think either I have to work on this or I have to work on that. And I'm telling you, everything we do in this business is an and. I can do multiple things at one time that actually send multiple streams of income. If I'm working on, a recruit to bring onto my profit share, and I'm also on the steps of the foreclosure, why wouldn't I take a recruit with me and add value to their life and let them see and understand how we're doing it, right? Because when you add value to people, Robert Cialdini calls it reciprocity or beholdenness. You create reciprocity and beholdenness. And when you do that, us humans are wired to want to give something back. And so when they want to give something back, what I want for them to give back to me is more time or a bigger step. Go to a class with me, go to, let me come out for a listing appointment, whatever. So don't ever think either or, always think and. How can I work on multiple streams at the same time, not in spite of the other one? A lot of people won't build their profit share because they think they should have got here sooner. You could say the same thing about your real estate business. All the people have all the listings. I can't get any. Don't ever buy into you should have got here sooner for any opportunity. I'm not a recruiter. That's good because we're not good enough to make a seller sell, a buyer buy, or an agent join. We're just not that good. None of us are. And I think I'm pretty good at the sales, but I'm not, because we can't make those people do anything they don't want to do. What we can do is help them self-discover that working with me is the right thing, selling their home to me is the right thing, or joining my company is the right thing, right? It's too late for me. A lot of times people will say, I was on a call this morning with one of our agents and, he's feeling like it's too late to build wealth and he's 47 years old. I'm like, dude, you got plenty of time. Get busy right now, right? So never think that something's too late or that you've missed the boat. That's never the case, right? And number 5, I don't understand. Well, you don't have to understand anything but how to help other people get what they want. That's the only thing you have to understand. Don't have to understand anything else. So those are kind of the big objections that hold people back. So here's the key about relationships. Most agents believe their relationships with buyers and sellers are more important and valuable than the relationship with the agent on the other side. And that's not true. I've made more money on relationships with agents than I ever did with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of transactions with buyers and sellers. So we got to raise the level of how, and I'll be honest with you, with other agents, I've bought investment properties from them that they didn't want to buy or that was their grandmother's house. So relationships with other agents is huge and most people miss it. They're very shallow. Relationships take time and you got to go scuba diving with them. You can't just go water skiing, right? So, and then here's the thing about validity. Validity is the ability to get people to know, like, and trust you enough to open the door to a relationship. That's it. And there's a lot of great ways to do that. There's so many ways. It can come from your accomplishments, your knowledge, your language, your experiences, your classes, your books, your company, other people in your company, if you know how to use it, stories that you've heard from other people. All of those things help you become valid. The way you get someone to self-discover is 3 ways. Great stories that they see themselves. Well, first of all, great questions that make them think. Great stories that they see their own life in. And then number 3, experientially. That's the best way. Experientially, when they experience something, that's so much better than you trying to teach them or tell them something, right? So value is you can have everything you want in life if you'll help enough other people get what they want. Here's the key part about value. What do they want? Don't guess what they want. Don't assume what they want. Don't think that because what you want is what they want. Don't do that. Learn to ask. They get to decide what value is, not you. And so only way you're going to do it is to ask great questions to make them give you the answers of what's important to them, what's keeping them up at night, what do you need to serve them and help them with. And then time is if you will build deep relationships, have validity, and provide value over time, you're going to recruit great agents. But I'm going to add to this. If you will build deep relationships and have validity and provide value over time, you will build your investment portfolio. You will build your real estate practice. You will have more opportunities than you ever dreamed possible. And you don't even know what some of them will actually be. So the way people feel love is TIME. That's why I always say you never have a lot of people on your list. You have 10 to 12 people on your list, any list that you have, because you can't go deep with a lot of people. You can only go deep with a few amount of people. So here's the most common ways that people try to recruit, get a listing, do whatever. You Kalahari dung fight. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up on the internet. This little creature, what happens is it collects dung, and when somebody gets close to it or makes it excited or whatever, it flings it all over the enemy. And we do that on listing presentations. We just sell and tell and sell and tell. And then we do the same things when we're trying to recruit somebody. And what I'm going to tell you is that never works. That never works. So give it up on your listing presentation, give it up on your recruiting efforts, give it up on your trying to get people to sell you their investment properties, all of those things. So sell and tell doesn't work. The magic script, there is no magic script. The magic script is full of questions where the other person gets to talk the most. And when the other person talks the most, 80 to 90% of the time, they're going to feel like it was the best meeting. And that's who you want to feel like it was the best meeting. But there's no magic script. A lot of times people pre-decide that an agent's happy where they are. They don't have any value gaps. They won't ever join us. They pre-decide that a listing won't list with them because they have a relative in the business. I'm telling you, I've gotten listings of people who had a daughter in the business. So never, ever, ever, ever pre-decide about anything. Don't pre-decide an agent won't join us, and don't pre-decide that a seller won't sell with you, because you just don't know until you ask. So my two favorite opening recruiting scripts are this. Number one, always start with a compliment, but it has to be sincere and genuine and real. Don't make stuff up. People can see through that. So I've given you kind of an example one here, but you'll get that when you download the things. And the other great way to make people feel important is to ask for their input and expertise. And you can just take out the word agent if you're not with KW and put the word seller or buyer. This works on everybody. It's human nature. But ask what their thoughts are, what they already know about the process of the transaction, what are their expectations of the transactions. You could do this a million ways and it works. So here's an example of a script. You can go ahead and get that when you download. So here's the other business that we did that became a passive stream. Is I built a top real estate team in Denton, Texas. And I built a brand that when people thought of real estate, they thought of me. And that was my number one focus. How do I get people in Denton, Texas, when they think of real estate, to think of me? And we got to test this when my daughter graduated from college and we went to Hawaii. And I'm checking in at the spa at the Grand Wailea. And I say, we're the McKissacks and we're here for our spa day. The lady looks up at me, puts her pen down, looks up at me again and said, Linda McKissack, you're in real estate. And I thought, oh my God, I've actually done it all the way to Hawaii. But the truth is she used to live in Denton. But here's the thing. If that's your number one goal, then that's what you should be focusing on. How do I get people in my area when they think of real estate to think of me? I created and worked a database on a regular basis. I never once bought a single lead. I only worked my database. I built a 7th level team, and that means a team that actually could run without me. And then I found someone that could take over my business, even though I didn't believe there was a person out there. And then he ran it for me for 20 years while I was out building other assets. And then we eventually sold that business to him to over 1.1 million. So that's how real estate sales actually became one of the passive streams of income. Okay, so here, the other path I showed you on that chart was leadership path. Again, I became a market center owner, never desired or set out to do that. But a lot of times we just say no to an opportunity before we even try it. And that's what I was doing. I was like, brokers get broker. I don't want to do that. And then when I got presented with the opportunity, I had a defining moment. I could either say yes and figure it out because I had no clue how to do it, or I could say no. And the difference is I try to always say yes if I can. And so we said yes to that. We started owning some market centers. I also became master faculty with KW, built relationships and connections for referrals and for future customers and intellectual property. And so sometimes the path you're on doesn't actually, you don't know where it's leading you. You just have to have faith that it's going to lead you to something that's a bigger opportunity. So here's kind of the path on that. Open the market center where our team sold first. That opportunity came up. It didn't come up when I first joined. Somebody else owned it. But guess what? It wasn't ran the way it was supposed to. And she still did pretty good. But when she got an opportunity to get bought out, that opened the door for us to step up and own it. Even though we didn't want to, we said yes, and we did, right? And then went 15 miles south and opened a second market center. Still had no clue what we were doing. And then once Brad took over the local team, I started going to Ohio, Indiana, and Kentucky to build KW there without knowing a person, a soul. Didn't even know where Ohio was, and just had faith that I could figure it out. And to be honest with you, I used that formula that I gave you earlier, and that's exactly the formula I used to build this. And then bought into market centers when they needed money or needed, somebody that knew a little bit more, which they didn't know. I didn't know that much more. But anyway, it's got opportunities there. And then mastered the career visioning process. Since businesses are about people making you money, success is through people, not around them. So I've learned how to find the right talent, how to attract them, and then how do I succeed through them, not around them? Because when you succeed around them, they go do other opportunities. So that kind of led us to those market centers. We started buying commercial buildings, and we try to do a commercial building that we are one of the tenants in, but we're not opposed to doing one if the numbers work that we're not a tenant in. Make sure I'm doing okay on time. Go ahead. So next thing we did was we started going into vacation rentals, and how this happened was we teach classes in our own market centers a lot. I pretty much say yes if anybody wants me to help them teach classes or do whatever. And we taught a real estate investing course called Hold in one of our market centers. And one of our agents, we told them they could bring their friends, bring their relatives, whoever. She brought a friend that was a stay-at-home mom. We built the relationship with that person. And she came to us about 8 months into the relationship and said, I have short-sold 2 vacation rentals in Branson, Missouri, and I can only afford to buy one. Do you want to buy one? This is a perfect example of you just trusting that when you build relationships and you give and you don't worry about what you're going to get, there's opportunity that comes out of those, right? My friend Joe Paula says, life gives to the giver and takes from the taker, right? So just figure out, how can I be a giver? And you won't be able to outgive what you get. It's just not possible, right? So that's how we got into the vacation rentals. We went from 1 to now we've built those up to over 30 something properties up in Branson. We have a management company that manages 42 nightly rentals. Some of them are ours, some of them are other people's. Okay. And then the personal homes and assets, we pick where do we want to have experiences with, and then we invest in those homes for our second home or whatever. So it's kind of like trying to be strategic about even the experiences and luxuries that you want in your own life. How do I actually create experiences for the people I love and the people I want to do business with to enjoy? And then what are the areas where I stand a really good chance that those will go up in value? Okay, so last one we're going to talk about, and then I'm going to open it up to specific questions, because what I've learned is if you're sitting there and you have a specific question about any of these, you need them answered so that you can take your first step. And so I want to leave plenty of time for that. But here's kind of the action step on the intellectual property. We would determine what kind of leader we would be. There's 4 kinds of leaders. There's a leader who has accomplished something and they go back and get other people. You're an adventurer where you're trying to figure it out on your own. And so you just bring people with you while you're trying to figure it out, which, by the way, one of my calls I did with one of my agents this morning, he's wanting to do more real estate investing. And one of the things we talked about is, why don't you go do investing seminars? It's going to force you to learn it faster. It's going to hold you accountable, and you're going to take other people with you. So he's an adventurer in that scenario, right? I'm a leader. I've already been through the path. I'm coming back to get other people. He's an adventurer. He's in the middle of the event and he's taking people with him. Evangelist is someone who just learns it and preaches it out to people. And then the reluctant hero is the person that doesn't ever set out to be the hero, but somehow, the deal's in front of them and nobody will do it. So they have to do it because nobody else will do it. Right. So those are kind of the 4 kinds of leaders that you can be in intellectual property. So what we've created so far is listing agent masterclass, profit share masterclass. We do profit share challenges. We have a profit share recruiting platform. We have a hold book, presentation mastery for realtors, list more, sell more book. And then we've also started to create a platform for teams to get better at mastering success through people. And so that's coming down the pipeline. So just to give you an idea, everything I've talked about today is something that you can do also, any of them. Maybe you're not ready to do some of them tomorrow, but what is the one you're ready to do tomorrow? That's the one I hope that you have ahas and questions around. The one that's the closest to you, that would be the next, not necessarily easy, because nothing in life is easy. Do we have the 4 C's? Okay, see if you can find that one real quick. Because here's the thing about opportunity and building a big life. The way we do it is we make big, scary commitments. And those big, scary commitments, the reason they're scary is because you don't know how you're going to do them when you commit to them. So when you commit to them, you have no idea how it's going to get accomplished. But then when you do accomplish it, the reason you accomplish it is because it's not a comfortable place to be in, that courage or scary place. So you'll figure out the how, and then you'll get a whole new confidence. And you shouldn't stop there. You should now go out and make another big, scary commitment. And if you do that, that's how your life's going to get big. It's not going to get big by you stepping into the next commitment that's comfortable for you. It's only going to be when it's uncomfortable for you. And the commitment is so scary that you have no idea how you're going to accomplish it. That's okay. Zoe, that's okay. So let's do this. Let's open it up if we could. Go ahead and put the scanner one more time in case somebody didn't get the slides. And then let's open it up for questions. And I'm probably going to need somebody help me look at the chat so that we can get everybody's questions. But I threw a lot at you real fast, but I wanted you to kind of have an overview of all the potential and all the possibilities. And now what I need is what jumps out at you as we talk about this today. And then what are some burning questions that you might have? So
Selfishly, I'll start. I had a couple quick questions. Linda, the first one is, you offer a lot of programs and systems and classes to help agents do lots of different things. Where did they get that information? Is that from scanning that barcode if they wanted to participate in some of your offerings?
Well, that's a really good question. And I should really be more prepared to tell people this. But yes, what this will do is this will get you on our email list. And then what will happen is, as we come up with anything, it will actually notify you. So when the Made for More stuff comes out for teams, that will come out. And I'm sure we've probably got some other things, like when we have a Profit Share podcast. When that comes out, it'll probably notify you. It'll notify you when Everything Life and Real Estate podcasts come out. So it will do that. But you can also go to lindamckissick.com, and I'm sure there's a way there that you can sign in. I'm terrible about this part of the stuff, but that I'm sure that will get you into the system, and then the system lets you know what's coming up, what we have, those kind of things. And you can do it based on needs, or we have a lot of free stuff. You can just take the free stuff and let it take you as far as it can take you. And then if you have questions, there's opportunities where we do free Zooms and different things like that. So yeah, great question.
Sounds good. Elizabeth, can you throw Linda's website into the chat, and then I'll open it up for everybody else, but I have one more question for me, and then I promise I'll stop. How do you determine each day? This is what I struggle with the most, and so I'm hoping you can help me. How do you determine what to focus on each day? Like, I've tried all the different methods. I have a journal, and it says, to do, but these are the top 3 priorities. And I've been using that lately, and I don't even usually get those 3 done, because I'm like, these are my 3 big rocks. But then the day starts and you bounce from fire to fire, or somebody else's priorities. And you have a lot of different options. You could be working in the investing, the profit share, the region, how do you decide what you're going to work on each day?
That's a great question. So I think number one is getting clear about what your true purpose is. And this is not easy, but one thing, I'm an entrepreneur. I get a million ideas a day. I love many ideas. The hardest thing for me is to know that the way you really become successful is go deep with things. So I picked the real estate world. So I still have some variety, right? But I'm also going deep on something. And I think what happens is we try to encompass too many things and we lose focus and we don't get the kind of results that we could, which is what my natural behavior is. So a lot of this you have to train yourself to do. So my purpose is I help successful but overworked real estate entrepreneurs understand the power of leverage and passive income so that they can create the power of leverage and passive income so that they can create freedom and margin for what matters most to them. So that becomes my filter. If it isn't a way to do that, I got to put it to the side. Not that I can't do it someday, I just can't do it right now, right? Because this is right now, that's my one thing. Now I have different ways I can do that. I can do that through recruiting for my region. I can do that through helping the people in my region recruit. I can do that through intellectual property and building relationships that way. So, but it has to fit through that filter, right? And so I think, and all of us do it. I mean, I always say the number one conviction I have every time I go to every Gary Keller meeting or anything is I'm not doing enough career visioning process, because career visioning is the one thing that if I did more of it, everything else would take care of itself. Because at this point in my life, the answer is never not what do I need to do or how do I need to do it? It's who. And when you can get to, that's where I think 10X is easier. If you can get to a 10X, it's never a what or a how, it's a who. That's the fastest way there. So what am I doing to go keep finding the right who's? And I think over time, the clearer you can get, and I have a cute little formula that helped me a long time ago is I help blank. Who do I love being a hero to? Who could I help for the next 25 years and never get tired of it? Who am I working because I want to, not because I have to? I help blank, do, know, or have blank so that they get blank. So I help successful but overworked real estate entrepreneurs, or any entrepreneur, but mostly real estate entrepreneurs, understand the power of leverage and passive income so that they get freedom and margin for what matters most to them. Does that make sense? So play with that little formula yourself and see what you come up with, and understand it. For me, that's the most dollar productive thing I do. And it doesn't feel like it because there's not very much money that transfers right to me. When you sell a house, you make the deal, you sell the house, money transfers to you. That's not where the wealth is. The wealth is I'm doing certain things and I have a lot of who's, and they're doing the things, and then the money's flowing in. So that's a hard shift, but it's an important shift because that's where the 10X is. The 10X is when I've trained myself to get out of, and I'm a what needs to be done person. That's who my natural behavior is. I've had to really retrain myself and say, if this is a great idea, who's the who that can pull this off? Because it can't be me. So I hope that helps a little bit, but
yeah, that definitely helps a lot. But just one quick follow-up. Is there any specific, when you get up and you go and you sit at your desk, is there something you're looking at? Is it on the computer? Is it written down? Like, what are you looking at to focus on what you need to do for the day? Is there some system or trick you have to keep you on task, or not really?
It's called the ADD system. It's terrible. Honestly, I've tried a million different goal settings, everything. It's really funny because I just know that if I can get it down to as simple as possible, if it's a lot of choices, I can't do it. It's just overwhelming. Can't do it. I procrastinate. If it's a thing that's not my unique ability, I know that I'm going to procrastinate. So I'm trying. So here's a really good example of this. I had my assistant, we do this thing called Leadership Academy in my region, and we've done it for the last 3 or 4 years, maybe, I can't remember. We do 2 groups a year, about 20 to 25 people each time. It's been one of the best things that we've ever done because I'm able to identify who's the next group of talent that might be looking for opportunity. And I'm getting to know my agents better. So it's fantastic. And so, but I realized that after they go through Leadership Academy, we really don't have any, I don't really have any connection with them, and that can't be good, right? Because I know their behavioral style when they come into Leadership Academy. I watch them during Leadership Academy, I'm making some notes, but I'm not doing anything with it after that. I'm a 2 on follow through. So you'll understand why. So my assistant, I said, you know what? I'd like to start talking to these people. Like ever so I put a few days a week, put 2 or 3 on my schedule and let me just kind of connect with them. And then what I'm going to do from there is I'm going to check and see who do I think needs to be moved to the next level, because they're probably somebody that has earned the right for a next opportunity. And we don't get to go anywhere until we find the next group of people asking, where's mine? We just don't, right? Once you start succeeding through people. So she did. In the first week, I had all these tasks overdue. The second week, I had all these tasks overdue. And I thought, crap, that doesn't feel very good at all. I hate this. And so I said, okay, Michelle, come back in here. This isn't working. And so I'm just a believer. If it's not working one way, that's okay. I'm not going to sit and keep beating myself up. I'm going to reroute it and figure out how can I get it done. So I have this saying, if I was going to do it, I would have already. That means it's in my unique ability. It's easy for me. It doesn't take willpower. I just do it. If it's not doing those things, something's wrong. So I brought her back in and I said, here's what we're going to do. Nobody minds being on the receiving dock. So what I want you to do is you call these people. You set up the call. You have them call me at a designated time. That way, if they don't call, I get to keep working. And then guess what? Since we've done that, I've never missed a call. We got lots of calls. They're going great. I'm loving it. Right. So we tend to get in these little ruts because we don't say to ourselves, well, if I was going to do it, I would have already. So what is a way I can do it? And just learn yourself. I've learned myself so much that I know where I'm going to fail if I don't put something around it. And so if you could figure out a little bit of that, I think that helps more so than a perfect planner or perfect, I have pieces of paper everywhere, but mainly I know real clear what I should be doing every day. And when I'm not doing it, I hand it off to somebody else to get it done. Like I'm going to the region next week. I have a full week. I did none of it. Well, I might've set one girl up, but then I handed it off to my assistant to get the restaurant figured out and all that stuff. But I've learned what will I do that's easy and natural for me? What's my unique ability and what's not? And I think that is things you have to figure out as quick as you can about yourself. And that's the only way it works for me, because I'm very, ADD, stacks everywhere. It's just sticky notes. It's all the things.
Got it. That makes sense. For that leadership academy, do you have criteria to get into it, or is it just anybody in your group?
We actually look around and we see who's showing up for training, because you can't grow your business with people who aren't learning based. So number one thing I'm looking for is, are they learning based? And if I've noticed them come to all the classes, do whatever, then they're going to go on our list. If we also have team leaders nominate and OPs nominate, or other leadership academy people can nominate, and then we pick from those and, get them through the next session.
That makes sense. So we have some people waiting to ask questions, but
Yep.
There are people in the chat saying that the QR code isn't working. When they scan it, it says no file. So
Okay, great. She'll work on that while we're talking.
Okay. Colleen Kossoff.
So I'm a team leader, and so I really appreciate what you were talking about with profit share. But I'm listening about, and I'm going to call this your empire. And I was just curious, and you were just talking about how you're ADD, and if you could see my desk, I got the sticky notes and things all over the place. But what does your org chart look like for all of this?
Well, the one thing I feel like we've probably done that we could do differently or better is we've ran super lean, and that's good and it's bad. It's good because more money goes to the bottom line. It's bad because we are one person away from quitting to having a mess. So for that reason, it's not good. So what we have is in our vacation rentals, we have one lead girl. She has her daughter helps her, and her husband is the maintenance. So that's what and then they sub out the cleaning. So we have that in our short-term rentals. In our single family rentals, we have one girl that she sees all of oversees our 60 properties on everything except the financial piece. Our CFO does the financial piece. We have one girl that has been with us 20 something years, that we call her our CFO, that she knows more about. She's moved us 5 times and I've never picked up a box. I leave the town living in one house and we come home and our cars are in the driveway and our boxes are unpacked and we go into our new house. This is how unique and special this girl is. And she manages all of our finance. She was my seller from hell that I hated because she wore me out because her little 2-bedroom house would not sell back when the economy was terrible. I should have just bought the sucker to get her off my back. But later when she answered an ad I had, she's been the greatest gift ever since, right? And then she has a girl at the office that helps her. Then I have Sarah and Zoe and Michelle, and then Andy. So we have 4 kind of here that does tech and social media and stuff. And then we have in the region, we have Press, Anna, Josh, and Rachel. We have 4. So, I mean, they're really pretty small staff for all the stuff that we have.
Colleen, you had another question about books.
Well, yeah, in the very beginning, you named the cash flow quadrants, but what other books have you read? I mean, do you suggest?
I think on my website.
I listened to the podcast. She's read every book there is based on.
Yeah, honestly.
One more.
Okay. Well, let me think. Okay. Well, if I had to say today, one that would be impactful is Who Not How. Right now, Who Not How. 10X is easier than 2X. Gap in the Gain.
All Dan Sullivan books.
All Dan Sullivan books. A couple of them are Dan Sullivan. If you get the hard copy books, they're Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy. One of my favorite books with Ben Hardy is Be Your Future Self Now. I love that book. I mean, there's so many. You know what I say is, what's your value gap that you got? If you took my formula and work it backwards, and where it says value, add the word value gap, because I think it makes more sense to you if you're not listening to me when you see the word value gap. And at the top of it, put my value gap is, and then whatever you put in the blank. Now we're going to work it backward. Okay, what's my validity to solve this problem right now? Well, obviously I don't have it because I'm not doing it. So who's the R? Who's the relationship I need to build that they can help me do it as fast as possible? Does that make sense? So if it's a personal value gap, you have work the formula backwards. If it's a service or a sales you're trying to do, work the formula from left to right, I guess. That makes sense. So there's always people out there with those answers, but we get overwhelmed with so much. But so just think, what's the next thing that I need to know? And if it's not something that's in my unique ability and I can solve real quick, then my real question is who can solve this, or who knows this, or who can do it? I'd rather somebody else do it if I can. So I would say Who Not How. If I had to say any book right now, I'd say Who Not How.
All right. And quick editor's note, they're saying the link works, but the folder is still empty.
Okay, we'll keep working on that. You're working on it, Zoe?
Everyone wants to get your stuff.
They just put a new
That's
link
good.
in,
We're going to make
it'll
sure
work.
we're going to stay on here till you get the stuff. I promise.
All right.
Zoe will
Kevin
figure it
Hurley. Seems like the team leaders are asking all the questions. Kevin?
Yeah, so you were talking just how important listening is, and I was just curious, what strategies do you use to ensure that you are fully present and attentive when listening to others?
That is such a great question. It is the hardest thing, but honestly, if you will let silence do the heavy lifting, it does magic for you. So here's the thing. Do whatever it takes. Put a band around your arm, sit on your hands, have a cup of coffee. But the main thing is, are they talking 80 to 90% of the time? If they're not, I'm not doing my job, right? Learn great questions and then work your system to figure out how do you get yourself to listen better. And it gets better with time, especially when you realize that I'm learning this about everything from the products we put together to any problem I want to solve. The people that have the problem will teach me what they need to know if I'll just listen. So once I understand the value of it, then it gets easier for you to do, but you still have to train yourself, especially if part of us believes that our value is in what we know and say and not what we can ask or get them to self-discover or whatever. It's a big switch, but it takes practice and time. And the more you practice it, the better you're going to get.
Thank you.
Yep, you bet.
Catherine Friedman had a question.
Hi.
So my question is, I am a brand new agent,
Yep.
and my network is very limited as far as just I didn't grow up in this area and I'm brand new in the real estate game. What would you say is the best way to form those relationships with people so I can get over that hurdle of making that first sale and, start to help people?
Yep. So I would say, what is my validity already? Like, who am I as a person? What do I enjoy doing? Did you do something before real estate?
Yeah, so I have a background in sales. I was doing fitness coaching for a while, and back in the day in high school and early 20s, I worked in a jewelry store. I did sales.
Okay, so what I come from giving. So what can I give? You could start with that industry because you have validity. You could offer, hey, because Keller Williams has so many tools that make you valid to anybody. I mean, when one time when the market crashed, I gave my clients a shift book because most of them were in businesses and they did not know what the heck to do, right? So what's a gap I can fill that people probably have that I'm just going to give? Like right now, you could, if there's businesses that maybe be struggling, or you could just put it out there and see who responds. You could offer a shift book club. You could offer trainers 4 tips that you learned in real estate that will help them build their business. Whoever, there's always something you can give and contribute. I'm a big believer that I like to use a skill of, if I can get in front of 50 eyes instead of 2, that increases my odds. So I've taught quantum leap before to my past clients. It has nothing to do with how to sell real estate, but I truly believe in the deal of reciprocity and beholdenness, that even if I give and give and give and don't worry about what I'm going to get something. Don't worry about that, right? So what are some things that would be easy for you to give that you could just start giving? Is it a seminar? Is it a class? And I know we can sit around and think, oh, I'm not ready. I don't know anything. Well, you'll figure it out. If you put a date on the calendar, you'll figure it out. You'll figure out how to get some information that will be of value. And remember, when you're giving into people, all they see is what you're giving. They don't know what you don't know. They just see what you're willing to contribute and give, and they have a lot of grace for anything else. So I might do a first-time homebuyer seminar. I might do, I'm going to go to what is the source that I have the most validity in, and I'm going to try maybe from there, to give something that would be of value. And if I can do it in a group, that's even better, because I have, one of those trainers might say, gosh, I can't really afford to buy a house right now, but you know what? My mother's looking to sell her house. And just learn this line of, you might be good in my business. What do they have to say if you say that? What's your business? Right? And you say, I'm in the business of helping people buy and sell real estate. Have you ever thought about a career? It's called a backdoor approach. And I hope they say yes, because I'd rather have a recruit than I had a seller or a buyer. But where you are in your career, you're hoping they might say, oh, I need to buy a house. But here's what they do 99% of the time. They say, you know what? My sister's looking for a house, or we've been looking for a house. I win either way. I'd rather have them as a recruit because I'm farther down the trail than you guys, but you need a sale. So guess what? That's probably what you're going to get. But if you don't even start the conversation or move it in that direction, and it's a compliment to someone to say you might be good in my business. And here's the thing. If you think, well, what if I don't think they'll be good in my business? I say, shame on you. 2 companies turned me down in the beginning and thought I wouldn't be good in real estate. So we can't do that. We cannot judge who will and who will not make it in any business. That's just not our place to do that. So I would just start trying to put some feelers out every opportunity I got. And remember, they're not going to fall in your lap in the office. So where can you go? What meetings can you go to this week? What classes could you teach? And just try to get activity breeds activity. Just write that down. Activity breeds activity. So just get busy. And the more activity you do, the better you increase your odds. Does that help a little bit?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, otherwise you got to ask yourself, what are my options? Open houses. What are the things everybody's doing? People in the office aren't going to be the one to buy anything from you. So could you set their houses open that you don't have? Could you door knock? Could you, make cold calls? What TCPA approved, of course. What could you do? And just make your list and then pick something and go for it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Larry asks, What's your take on Al and where will he impact us the most? I can answer that. I think Linda thinks I'm awesome and that'll have a huge, oh, wait a minute. He was saying AI, not Al. So wait, let me read that again. What is your take on AI and where will it impact us the most?
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I was sitting years ago in a seminar and they were up there. The guy, it was Tom Ferry's event. And, you know, Gary Vaynerchuk was up there. I mean, some people that honestly, if you listen to them, the whole world was about to be consumed by internet and we were all going to be, they didn't really say we're going to be out of business, but you could very quickly hyperventilate and think that. And I looked over at the lady and I said, you know what? Listen, the person that gets face to face will always win. How we use those tools, who knows? I'm not going to be the leader in it. I'm never the first adopter because number one, it takes me too long to figure it out. But I might give it to my team and say, hey, figure this out. Can we use this at all? I think we can get sidetracked with some of that stuff. And I think the more we have stuff that's not authentic, the more authentic stuff is going to be important. So I'm going to stay authentic. I'm going to still try to be face to face with as many people as I can. And I'm going to let everybody else in the world figure it out, all the AI. And then if it looks like something we can use, my team will use it and we'll go from there. I'm not going to use it. It's not dollar productive for me.
I want to be respectful of your time, Linda. We have one more question from one of our top agents. Bruce, do you have time for one more?
I do. Hey, Linda, thanks for sharing all that wealth of knowledge. What a blessing for all of us. My goodness. My question for you would be obviously you've grown a portfolio of real estate, stocks, bonds, et cetera. When you look for alternative investments, what are your top three things that you're looking for? Like, let's say, call it a startup company vertically integrating into your real estate business within a sector that you see opportunity that you've isolated. What would be the top three things that you're looking for as a partner, as an investor, as somebody to take that to the next step?
So let me make sure I understand the question. What am I looking for in whether we're going to enter into that business?
Yeah, enter into a partnership to help grow it, to help align it, to vertically integrate. What would be
okay, so you're talking about the who part of it?
Let's say you've isolated the who, and now it's more of a structuring portion of it, along with a vision. What would be qualities that you seek for that to partner with people?
So mostly if I'm going to do anything new, it's going to be because of the who that's either going to run it or I'm going to do an equity position with. So I have all the criteria that we look for in the who's, and then the business just has to be simple enough that it makes sense because we're simple people. And if I'm all confused by the time somebody gets to explain it to me, it's probably not the right business for me. And we're just now moving into looking for business opportunities. If you look at ours, it's all real estate related, everything, right? We don't even have that much stocks. We suck at stocks. We bought and sold Facebook at the wrong time. So don't listen to us about stocks. But, you know, I have said, I don't know if y'all know Adele Demora. She's somewhere in New Jersey, but anyway, she has a funeral home. So I was teasing her the other day and said, hey, should I buy a funeral home? You know, so for the first time, because of where Jimmy and I are in our age, you know, I don't want something that's going to pay off 20 or 30 years from now. I want a cash flow business opportunity, maybe. So that would be more based on the who that understands that business and it being simple enough for us to understand what we got to do to make it successful. I think that kind of answers your question, but I'm not really sure.
It does. Sounds like simplicity, understanding the path to go, keeping it more simple, KISS method.
Yep. It's got to be simple because I find like there's a guy that reaches out to me all the time. I swear to God, I can't understand what he does. And I'm like, if I can't understand what you do, I'm not going to do business with you.
I'm an OP mainly.
Huh?
I'm an OP mainly. You're talking about me when I reach out to you and you don't understand what the heck I'm saying?
No, this is a guy that I met through Strategic Coach. And I swear, and I'll ask somebody else, do you understand what he does? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, then this is not good. Because to me, it's not complicated, right? If it is, I'm not the right person for it. But yeah, it's got to be simple. And honestly, at this point, if we don't have the right who that we feel, you know, confident in, we're just not going to do it.
Yeah. Sounds like the genius is in making complex things simple.
Yeah, I like simplicity. I'm a multiplier, so I don't need another multiplier. I need a simplifier because I'm going to multiply the heck out of everything. I just need somebody to make it simple because I'm going to make it really a mess first.
Compliment in
Yeah.
that sense.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Appreciate all the insight that you've shared as well.
My pleasure. Do we know if the thing works yet? Everybody okay with it, Al?
Yeah, it looks like it's working now, and it is 3:11. Thank you for staying over a little bit with us, Linda. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Anything for you, Al?
Oh, thank you. All right. I don't even want to say any last question because we're already over. So thank you so much, Linda. We have the information in there. I guess with the site, people will want to get in touch with you and the stuff that you offer, they can. Thank you so much. If we can ever return the favor, we definitely will. This was super helpful. And the way I can tell people we're enjoying it, normally people drop off as time goes on, and we were getting more and more people. So everyone must have been texting their friends saying, jump on, this is really good, because we had more people, halfway through than we did at the beginning. So
Thank you. Well, I'm always happy to jump on and do level 2 if we need to, as they move through the progress and make progress. And hopefully I'll see you at Mega Camp soon.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
All right.
Thanks,
See
Linda.
you
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Thank you. My pleasure.